Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm very excited. Can you hear me well? Yes. Yeah. So, right at the start, I want to ask you to install Pluto on your computer because we'll use it during the workshop. If you already have it installed, please update Pluto because I made some fixes last night that I want you to use. If you go to plutojl.workshop, it's a website. There you see instructions for installing or updating Pluto. Yeah, I have it here. So if you go to plutojl.org/workshop, you see how to install Pluto or how to update it. And this might take some time, but I promise it will work. And before we go to the interactive part, we'll walk around and make sure that we have everyone using Pluto. Just make a new notebook and do 1 + 1 and check that it's 2. So, hello. While you're installing Pluto, welcome to the workshop. This is Boshra, and I am Fons. And together we work on Pluto, and we work on storytelling with Pluto. And today is about how to use Pluto, but also how to use Pluto to tell a story. So, how to communicate your work, how to make it more understandable, interactive. And this workshop is about you. So there's a section where you'll work together with your neighbor on a new idea. So maybe this is a good time to introduce yourself to your neighbor and talk about what you're working on. Now, more than half of the people have Pluto, so I think it should work. I also wanted to ask this audience if you have used Pluto before. Or if you have not used Pluto before. Yeah, okay, that's awesome. Because we have a plan for both of you. And have you used another notebook before, like Jupyter? Wow. Who has never used a notebook before? Ah, yes. Put up your finger, come on. What about other ways to write a document like LaTeX? And PowerPoint? Excel? Anyone? Okay. So Pluto is like Jupyter meets Excel. So if you've used those two, you'll be fine. So I just want to say quickly what Pluto is, and then Boshra will introduce the workshop. So Pluto is a programming environment for Julia. So you use it to write Julia code, but also to create a document. So it's both a place where you explore and a place where you can make something to share with others. And the whole mission behind Pluto is to make scientific computing, like Julia, more accessible and more fun, because it should be more accessible and it should be more fun.
Nice. Yes, thank you. And now I get to introduce to you what we're doing today with Pluto. So our goal today is we want you to write your own Pluto notebook. It means we're going to show you the tricks. So we'll start with the basics. We're going to show you some tricks. And we want to show you how we can use Pluto to tell our stories. So what does story mean? It means the work that you're doing. So if you want to show some piece of code, or you want to show the idea, or you want to show the plots, how to integrate all of this in Pluto, and what is the difference of doing this in comparison to LaTeX or a PowerPoint presentation or a Jupyter notebook that you're used to. And so for that, we have two options. If you're unfamiliar with Pluto, we recommend you just open an empty Pluto notebook like this one. So if you have Pluto running, it should look like this for now. And if you're already familiar and you want a challenge, we have something else for you. So we have a notebook here, which we call the boring notebook. And you will see this notebook is very boring in a sense. And you can open it and run it, and we will show you today how we want to basically improve this. So you have two options, but we recommend you just start with this one just to get a familiar feel of Pluto.
Nice. Okay, so this is what you get when you open Pluto. And I'll zoom in a bit. Can you see this? Yeah. So it says enter cell code, and here you can write code, and you can write almost any Julia code you want. Like you can create a vector of numbers, and what else can I do? I can make text. Ooh, I cannot make text. Oh yeah, and you can make variables like apples is 1, 2, 3. Apples plus apples. And now, magic moment. Oh my god. You can change apples and it updates. It went from something to 24. And that's because Pluto works like Excel. So everything is linked in a graph. And Pluto knows how to run code so that everything stays up to date. And that's very cool for giving JuliaCon presentations. But it's also really cool for interactivity and writing an interactive document. Because, for example, in your document, you can have a parameter about your simulation. And then you can just change your parameter and you see your whole document update with the new simulation parameter. So I just wanted to show this apples plus apples, but it's up to your imagination what you do with it, right? You can also have multiple variables that come together and create something. Just any Julia code you write, the globals are reactive. So yeah, I used Shift-Enter to run code, the plus button to create new cells. Also something cool is you can hide code. So with the little I, you can hide the code of a cell. And this is how you make things really like more magical, that you're hiding the code and you're just showing results. So you can always choose, basically. Do I want to show the code and make it a part of my story? Or do I want to hide the code and just show a plot or a calculation? And then an important one is Markdown. So we don't have a Markdown cell like Jupyter, but we have the Markdown string macro from Julia. So I can write hello JuliaCon, and you see that the code is a Markdown call and the result is a Markdown text. So now if I hide the code, you get text. And I can say, this is my title, and hide the code. I can move it to the top. So if you grab a cell on the left side, you can move it around. And now I have a computational document. And it's interactive. Okay. I lost my mouse. So how is this going? Did you try it? Is it working? Can you show me a hand if it's working? And if this doesn't make any sense and it's going too fast, it's okay. If this is going too slow, maybe you can raise your hand. So it's perfect, right? Very nice. Okay, next I want to show some... actually, something I want to show is if you go to the Pluto main menu, so you just click on the Pluto logo, and then you go down and you see our featured notebooks. So we have a large collection of notebooks written by the community or by us, showing what you can do with Pluto. This one's really cool. So here you can see you can also import packages in Pluto, and all the imports work. It has an automatic package manager. So you can see it installed notebooks, installs packages in the notebook. There's a dog. Yeah, and you see you can also use colors and yeah.
Just a question, when you install a package within a notebook, which environment does it go?
Yeah, the question was if you install a package, which environment does it go? And Pluto makes an environment for every notebook so that all notebooks are isolated and reproducible. And also when you make a notebook and you send it to a friend, then it automatically instantiates the exact same versions. So that's really important, that we want things to just work. So you can, just like in Photoshop, you send someone a Photoshop file and they open it and it works. Yeah.
So does that mean that every time I use Plas in a Pluto notebook, it will precompile?
So the question was if you use every notebook that you use plots, it has to precompile again. And the answer is yes and no. The first time, often yes, because Pluto will install newer versions, blah, blah, blah. But if you make a second notebook, Julia has the cache. So creates a new environment, but the same versions and precompiled caches are used. And I'm working really hard to make this work as good as possible, but it's super hard. And yeah, I wanted to show how to use interactivity. So, yeah, one thing you can use is this package, Pluto UI. And you just do using Pluto UI, and then it will automatically install it. And you can see it didn't precompile anything because I used it before. And now you can do add bind. So bind is the only Julia thing that's exclusive to Pluto. Everything else is just Julia. And you use it like bind, and then you give a Pluto UI element. And now you can see that I've created the Julia global that's controlled by a slider. I can also do a checkbox. And then it's true or false. And you can see it's just a Boolean, so it's not a special type that you need to work with. And to see all the options of Pluto UI, you just search online for Pluto UI documentation, and you can see everything that we have. And we have really cool stuff, like this is my favorite. You give it an initial number, like 7. And then you can click and drag. And this is really cool to put inside of text. So for example, I can say, I am years old. And then later you can do something with this, like if it's over 18, you say, I can drive. Oh.
It should stop at 85.
It does. It automatically stops. Don't worry. Yeah, I can drive. So again, it's up to your imagination what you do with this, right? You can put things inside of Markdown. You can also put your results inside of Markdown. You can make plots. Yeah, so just check out Pluto UI documentation for everything you can do. Yeah. Scrubbable is because my native language is not English. Scrubbable, I think what I thought was that this interaction is called scrubbing. And so it's a scrubbable number. Yeah. But it's really embarrassing because I came up with it and you cannot change names after you do it. And now every video call I have to say scrubbable, scrubbable, and everyone's saying scrubbable. Yeah. I had another question there. Yeah.
Does the location of the import matter besides being prior to when you use it? So does it matter if it's in the same cell or not?
No, that's a good question. So the question was, is the location of the import important, like in the notebook? And the answer is no. You can put it wherever because Pluto analyzes everything. And this is actually very cool because now you can put your imports at the bottom of your notebook, for example, because you don't want to show it to the user. So something I do in my lectures now is in the last cell, I do appendix. And then I put all the technical things that I don't want students to see. I put it in the appendix. And they can still see it if they want to. So I'm not hiding away the magic or something. But it's not taking up the story. Yeah.
Do you ever have issues with doing things like this, moving like stuff to the bottom or adding lines where somebody that goes to normal Julia and they're like, where's bind?
Yeah, the question was if I have issues where people use binds or reordering and then they go to normal Julia and it doesn't work. I don't know. Probably, but yeah, because of what I do, I usually don't talk to them anymore once they stop using Pluto, but I would love to know. How do I get the mouse here again? It's down. How is it going so far with the using Pluto? And I wanted to see if you're all able to do using Pluto UI and then make something interactive. Is that working? I'm gonna let you keep working on it, and you can also talk with your neighbor.
And so what we want here, we want to integrate our story, so the thing that we're wanting to say, with the cool stuff that we learned from Pluto. So for example, here, say you want to tell someone about linear regression. Instead of doing what we've done before and explain all the math and then show a plot, blah, 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 we can guide them through this through the process step by step. So we take like a simple example, say here I have a lemon tree and I want to know how much water I give my tree and how much lemons it returns to me. So let's say here I change the number of water that I give it and I see, oh, I get more lemons at the end. And so this is a very, very simple example of a linear relation. And we use Pluto for this. So we use the sliders that we just learned to kind of see actively like this, this change to kind of communicate the idea better. And then we can build on this and do something even more complicated. So we can take the plot, say we have here some data generated that say here is our number of water given and the numbers of lemons that our tree returned. And we want to find like the linear regression, a linear relation between that. So we assume there's a linear relation. And what is a nicer way to explain this to people than to just let them try around with a little bit. So we know we have to fit this line. So we have to find a line that passes through these points kind of perfectly. And so we can play around with this line and then try to find basically a slope. And yeah, here the intercept that works well. That would give us a perfect linear relation. And then we can also add a second step and then say, okay, but there is kind of a perfect solution where the line would kind of be the best line. And we can also just check or uncheck this thing. And then here in the plot, also the best line appears. And so you can play more with a little bit with this. And so basically what we did here, we took everything that we know from Pluto. We took the sliders, we took the interaction, we took like the text here, the markdown. We also have the math in case people are interested in the math part. And we told the story of a simple concept like linear regression in a more interactive way where we just use the most of our medium as much as we can. So we use the plots, we use the colors, we also use emojis here to make it more fun, but you don't have to. And what this means for you is that you can also take your work and make it more interesting, more interactive, and just integrate like these pieces of code if you want. So if you want to show how a slider is done, you can do this. If you want to hide it because it's not relevant, you can hide it. If you want to show how you did this plot, you can also add the code here, but you can also hide it. And then depending on what story you're trying to tell or what information you're trying to pass, you can play around with Pluto. So yeah. And now I want you as a small exercise for you to kind of think about your own work. How could you use Pluto to, like, when you're presenting or when you're showing it to someone else, what things from Pluto can you use to make, the information pass more quickly, in a sense. And now you can play around with this. You can play with this notebook, with the other notebook, maybe fix it in a different way, or just use your own notebooks. Guys, we're coming at the end of the workshop, so please just 2 more minutes of attention. So now all of you have tried Pluto, have tried some stuff. Hopefully you learned something new. And now we want to hear from you, so we want some feedback. We want to know what was surprising, what did you find in Pluto that you didn't expect, that was new, and what was nice and that you think will use in your own work. So just raise hands, just scream whatever you want.
Yeah, like first time I tried Pluto and I find it like really interesting. And you know, the first thing that I thought about is how I can use Pluto to debug some complex application we have. I mean, we have some very like large memory intensive, CPU intensive application, and you know, like I can use Infiltrator to put a breakpoint. But then if I could run Pluto to debug things, to inspect some, you know, some complex data structure we have, that would be fantastic. Yeah, that's just a thought.
So I mean, I have used Pluto before, but it was a long time ago. So probably many new features were since added, and then I have to do other things. But definitely, I want to try more of this. And also, I mean, I did like the scrubbable object definitely, because I remember when I was trying to play around with making something interactive, then it took quite a while, and I could never like remember the syntax of like setting up some sliders and how to do this. So now I was just I just said, okay, I have this parabola, it's centered at some value, and then I but make the parameter like with a scrubbable object, and then I can just write it in this markdown string, and then I can just see it move around. So this is it's just easier, and then there's not so much overhead. So I liked it a lot.
I've seen Pluto before, but I still haven't really gotten into using it. But what I really like about it is it forces you to change the way that you think about explaining things.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, here's the formula, off you go. Like, okay, what is the concept that I'm trying to communicate? And then how can I show that in like an interactive or visual way rather than just learn it?